Welcome, everyone. I'd like to thank you so much for joining us this evening. We're going to do something a little bit differently. I decided that I was going to be using some feature artists from ArtList, or should I say ArtList, and I'll combine that with the interviews as well as some music in the background. A lot of these artists, some of them are known, some of them are not so known, and we will go ahead and explore that. I will have a segment in which I have maybe, I think there's one, two, three people that'll participate in this particular half an hour piece. And it's just a conversation, a little talk here and there, and just something that I really find to be very fun, especially since I'm highlighting music that normally is not my genre, but I like what I've been hearing lately. So anyway, without any further ado, as I said a few minutes ago, it's going to be a new take on this particular show. My name is Natalie J, and some of you know me from the past. Well, this is something that I said to myself. I said, you know what? We're going to take the old and we're going to take the new, and then we're going to create a new you. So basically, that's the gist of what this music, this half an hour segment is going to be about. Now, if by chance you have something that you'd like to share with us, you can always send an email to me. And the email can be directed at inspire, INSPIRE, dot, the number two, the letters UHS, the gmail.com. Yes, this is a Gmail address because I tend to go there much quicker than my usual websites. But anyhow, I would like very much if you have something that you'd like to share, or maybe there's a topic that you'd like to discuss, which also means that you would need to participate in the business side of this, which is you'd have to do the talent release and the bio, JPEGs. And if you're okay with all of the above, well, then I am okay also. And we'll sit down, we'll have a conversation, and we'll go from there. Now, one of my websites that I don't mind sharing with you is it's called Little Dove, as in the bird, littledovepublishinghouse.com. And you can see some of my work there. Now, as I said before, I have a background in a lot of radio and television and things like that. But this particular segment is something that I just feel like doing. It's kind of like freelancing, skydiving, gliding. And I would love the opportunity to share some of these artists that I've come across lately who are really, I feel, extremely talented and phenomenal, even if their music is a little bit different than what I'm used to. So I hope that you will participate by at least liking the video and also passing a comment, writing a comment, or subscribing to the station, because this is going to premiere on YouTube. However, the entire version of the conversations and everything else will be on the website, which is littledovepublishinghouse.com. So, email address, inspire.2, that's the number 2, U, H, S, K, at gmail.com. UHS at gmail.com. So, without any further ado, let's begin.
Good day to you, my beautiful sister. And I just wanted to thank you so very much for the spontaneity of you being able to respond to my requests. I noticed on YouTube that you were doing some talking. And I said, well, since you're talking like that, let's have a conversation. I'd like to share that thought with you and others. For those who don't know, this is Miss or Sister Nzinga. Nzinga, how do you pronounce your last name?
Debrick.
Okay, thank you. And you are the producer, host of
Flowin Growin.
Flowin Growin.
New channel on Facebook.
On Facebook and YouTube?
Oh, excuse me. Well, I have a Facebook group there, but yeah, YouTube is the new channel. Yes, ma'am.
All righty, all righty. So what was the purpose of this? And no, before you answer that question, I'd like for us to agree that I can record you.
Yes,
Okay.
you have my
All right.
permission. Mhm.
Okay, great. Okay, so let's go on. So you have this new channel,
Yes.
and it must have been prompted by something. What pushed you in that direction?
Well, it's kind of been on my heart for a long time. You know, Spirit gave this to me a long time ago, and I was just kind of reluctant, and because what transparency? Because I seem to be the only one. And I don't say that I'm the only one, but in my family and my close surroundings, I grew up in, you know, people, we grow up together, but sometimes we grow apart.
Right.
And so in my growing and learning and educating and researching and so forth, I seem to have a different idea of our reality.
Right.
And so, you know, my lifestyle was totally different from, you know, the people that I was close to, my family and stuff like that. And so they didn't receive it well. So I kind of shot, oh, well, my family won't embrace it, you know, whatever. So,
right.
So, but then, you know, I started meeting other people, and actually I moved away. I live in another country. So
yeah, I know. We'll get
and
around to that part too.
I, you know, other people are embracing me. Um, People like some old friends that weren't so close with, but then sometimes when I post something on Facebook and they say, "Oh wow, Zinga," and people have been calling me, you know, that kind of thing. So I was like, And then of course, you know, when I thank you so much for you calling me to want to interview me. I said that this gives me a reassurance that someone wants to hear what I have to say. So actually, near the end of December, I had met this sister online, and we talked, and we had some really same ideas, and she was like saying, "Zinga, okay, I'm going to push you." You know, so from her talking to me, and I've only known this lady for like a couple of months. Her pushing says, "Zinga, no, you have to do this. You have to do this." And I was like, "Okay, Spirit, I know I have to do this, and so I'm going to do it." So I had decided that near the end of the year, I was going to do it to kind of bring on the new 22, and then some things happened, you know, and but then I was determined. It was the last week of December. I says, "No, I'm doing this, no matter what." And like my first one, it probably wasn't the best post or, you know, best video or whatever, but I said, "But I'm doing it." And so I did it. So every Tuesday, I talk about it Tuesday. I'm there, and I'm gonna continue to bring it, and you know, just, you know, making mistakes along the way. But I says, no, I'm going to be committed to do this. And
But
so
talk
I'm
about
doing
that last one in December, because weren't you in the airport?
My second one was in the airport. Yep. My second one, I was actually in the airport.
That was so cool.
I can do this, you know, no matter where I'm at, you know. So that was my circumstances, and so I did it. Yeah. So and I feel good about it, you know, and I have been a little bashful about it because you know, for several reasons, but you know, Spirit has put it in my heart that no, okay, you know, and then I do know that I must be obedient.
Yeah.
You know, so
that would be very helpful.
I'm carrying this out. And I thank you for this opportunity to share it with you know, with your audience.
There's something that I'd like you to do also before we get into the direction of your particular show and how you see yourself progressing with it and who really is your market, all right, or your audience. Tell me or tell us a little bit more about who you are, who you've been, and just a brief synopsis of that. And the other thing is this, and this is where this particular segment of my show is going, and that is the people's history. Now, you have children, but where did you raise your children? Were you in the rural areas, or were you in the urban cities, you know, the urban communities? Or what's your story?
Well, my first daughter, you know, I was living in Delaware. I was born and raised in Delaware, and when I got to my 20s, I was like saying, you know, I have got to go, because at that point still I was feeling just a little different, a little ostracized. I wasn't kind of, you know, do what all the girls say they doing. We all wearing red. Okay, no, I'm not wearing red because all y'all wearing. You know, I just wasn't a follower. I was, you know, I've always felt like, you know, that I was a leader, and that I had something to share. And so I moved away. I moved to Colorado from Delaware. And so my first child was born in Denver. But then I became a single mother. And so I wanted my child to be able to have grandparents and so forth like that. So I moved back to Delaware, in addition to the fact that my father wasn't in his best health. And so I moved back to Delaware. And I ended up starting a business in Singles Culture Connection. That was a blessing. That lasts for 40 years. But for the most part, I had another daughter 9 years after that. And but we were definitely in the city. I raised them both in the city of Wilmington.
What was it like?
And in my store, I would say, because they say, Mom, they always had to be in the store. So because that's where I was making my livelihood to be able to take care of them. So after school, they couldn't just go out and just, be at home by themselves and go out and play. No, come home, come to the shop, do your homework, you can play a little bit, but that was my livelihood at that time. And what did you say? What was that like?
So here's the question. So what was the environment like for you? First in Delaware, because we're talking what part of Delaware? Wilmington?
Wilmington, Delaware. That's on the East Coast.
Right. All right. So what was that like at that time in comparison to where we are now?
It was actually, it definitely was nowhere near the way it was then. We had I think I've lived two places with my children. And I lived, I know three. Started with my family home, and then we moved to this like little area that wasn't too far, as in walking distance from the original house. The house needed some repairs. Like I said, it was my family home. I purchased it, and I just wanted to get out of there, do some repairs on it, and then we moved into a little townhouse, and it was nice. We had our own front door. We had a little porch. We had a nice neighborhood type of environment, and then I ended up purchasing a house on the west side of Wilmington. And it was a little stuff that was going on a little bit because I had to just push these guys off of my corner, because I'm like, no, I live here now. And I don't know who lived here before. It allowed you just to kind of hang on this corner or just be around there. But it was a good neighborhood. There were a lot of other children around. My house, we had a front porch, we had a back porch, so that I even had a yard so the children could go outside without being all the way outside. And it was a decent neighborhood. And actually, I've been in business several times. I still own that home. It's still not as bad as some other places, but yeah, it was definitely like city life because my children went to local schools and things like that. But I was very, very involved in the community. We used to do different things, for the children, craft making workshops. I was involved in the rites of passage. I used to do different programs to, just to cultural programs to enhance my children's learning. And if it wasn't there, I would create some programs, not just for my children, but for the community. And then hence my store in Nzinga's Culture Connection. I had that the whole time I was in Delaware, and we used to do lots of programming inside my store on a regular basis.
I know, that's where I met you.
Yes, that's right. In addition to doing Kwanzaa, I made sure that we had a 7-day Kwanzaa celebration every year for almost like 20 years. Wow. So I was trying to, to definitely share and to give my children the experience of, other than just the regular old stuff that, that we do. We have to really branch out and do other things and expose our children to different things. But again, it was still just the city life.
What's your background? What's your business background?
Well, my business background, I graduated from high school in 1975, and I didn't go to college till like 4 years after that. Like I told you, I moved to Colorado,
right?
And so when I moved to Colorado, I had previously I'd gone to an airline and travel industry school because I got a job right out of high school. Let me go back a bit. I got a job right out of high school, and I did well. I was promoted a couple of times there, but I wasn't feeling it. The corporate world was just really not for me. And so I used to go to lunch, stay longer, come to leave early and, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, this really ain't my vibe. So I quit. My mother thought I was crazy. I
bet.
I saved so I could be able to take care of myself financially, but I was just saying that I couldn't do this anymore.
Right.
And so anyway, so I did all that. And I went to an airline and travel industry school. I tried to get some things like to be a stewardess or to work at the front desk at the airport, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't happening in Delaware. So that's why I said, I just need a totally different environment. And that's when I moved over to Colorado. Once I got there, I got a job at the front desk hotel at the Denver airport. I loved it. It was a good experience. But I was like saying, well, what else can I do after this? I could be front desk manager. Okay, but then above that, without quote unquote their type of education, what can I do? So I decided to go back to school. So long story short, I did go back to school. I got a degree in computer management science. And I had a degree in computer management science, and I came out and I got a job immediately too. I was a PC specialist, and I worked that job for about 2 years in Denver, and I was able to transport over to the East Coast. So I got to the East Coast, and the company that hired me decided to make some changes and just said, okay, called everybody in one morning and said, okay, today's your last day. You
Wow.
know, go pack your desk.
Oh,
Yeah. So thank God I was actually in Africa. It was my first time going to Africa. I was in Africa at the time. But when I come back, I found this out that I no longer, that I was going to be, getting fired pretty soon. But I was, because I worked in the computer field, they kept my department on for 3 months after they had let everyone else go. So that gave me a little bit more time, since I was just getting back into the country. So at that time, I still, at my 3 months was up, but that was up. And that's why I decided to go back to Delaware. And during my time in Denver, I used to dance professionally with a group called Griots Wild Moja. So I came back and I started teaching African dance. I started sewing. I used my God-given talents. I was like, what can I do now? So I started teaching African dance. I started sewing my behind off. And this was during the time like when everything, Black culture was really proud and everything. And, everybody was Black and proud back then. And so I did weddings, I did church events, I did just personal items and so forth. So I started doing that. And my business grew. My business grew I started right there in my living room. And it grew to, I shared a space with some people, and then we all decided to go together and bought this other bigger building downtown. And we had a place we called it Freedom Plaza 1. So there was 4 different businesses inside there. And then from there, I eventually left them and stepped out on my own. And that's where I met you on Market Street. And I had that business for like 38 years.
The reason why I wanted you to share that history was because I wanted people to understand that, yes, we're looking at a lady who looks way younger than she is. Yeah, and who is really quite independent in her thoughts, but also she manifests whatever it is that she desires to go after, from what I've seen. And that was something without knowing your history. So now that we do all of that, what really pushes you towards your show? Why did you decide to take that title? And what is your general direction? What are you trying to say to others?
Okay. Actually, I started my channel out because I've always known that, that through my studies, people that I studied with, or people that I did things with, and people that I was involved with in the culture, were going through the motion of those type of things, but they weren't making changes, so we were, taking the information, we were doing it. And I was, even maybe to the point now that I regret a few things, because what I did was, as I learned things, I applied it. You know what I'm saying? When I start learning about like my eating habits, then I said, okay, no, I'm not feeding my children meat. No, I'm not. Okay. And I start learning about like, the reality of how TV is, television, and, how the media controls you. I would not let my children watch TV. So I was very strict on, if I learned something and I know it, I embrace it as a truth, and not just anything, just some real stuff, and based on my reality, the things I'm experiencing and how the world was treating me. I said, no, I'm going to apply these things because I have the freedom to make this choice. So, a long time ago, I used to say, think it ain't illegal yet. Think it ain't illegal yet, and I just started saying that, like many years, over 20 something years ago. And so through time and time, as I continue to learn and to, to embrace more things and apply my reality to making choices for myself, I said, well, this is what I'm going to use. So getting back to this, because that was my original title, but there's a song that Funkadelics made a long time ago. I didn't even know it. This is way back in the 40s and 50s. And so it wasn't a good space, but that still is my my mantra, because what I did was I took the word think and I broke it down into the THINK, and as I made a little acronym that says taking hold of and implementing new knowledge. So that THINK is taking hold of and implementing new knowledge. And so that is still my platform, to think it ain't illegal yet, and to take hold of information and implement the new knowledge, because we're in a world today where many people, they know stuff, and they have experienced things, but they continue to say, oh, this is the way they do it. Oh, this is in style, so I'm going to do it this way. So but the bottom line is they're not thinking. They're not thinking for themselves, actually. And if you're not thinking for yourself, that means you ain't thinking. So I that's still my platform, but my purpose and my passion is to emancipate yourself from mental slavery. So that's my platform, and I just had to change it to the Flowin Growin thing. Just started, so it'd be easier for people to find me on YouTube. But definitely that's still my platform, and my purpose and passion is to emancipate people from their mental slavery. Because
So
I'm sorry.
no. I do apologize about that. The thought before you go further beyond that point, I wanted you to explain. There are some people that feel that we're already emancipated. This is 2022, and the things that as a people that we've accomplished, and they're not paying attention to some of the other things that are taking place. So, emancipate yourself from the mental slavery. How do you do that?
First of all, you start thinking for yourself, and you don't
Easier
say
said than done.
it is. Oh, because I'm gonna tell you it, because it ain't easy. Because for me, I've been ostracized a lot. I always look like, I'm the eyeball, or that type of thing. I'm always the eyeball out. But but it takes courage, though, sister. We have courage, and I don't know why. How can I say I don't know why? I do know why. So I do know why, but I do think that with a little more knowledge and a little more like in your face kind of stuff, that people will understand that, oh damn, look at this, maybe I should do this, or maybe I should stop doing that. Because we know, like you said, this is 2022, but like, excuse me, so the hell what? Because we are still being stopped in stores because they think that we're such and such and such. We're still being on the highway stopped us because of our black skin. We are still have these so-called Karens, to talk to us any kind of way. We're still being like, can't go to the bank and get certain things. So yes, even though that we have, well, actually we ain't got nothing. I don't know, because see, it's the narrative that have been given to us, making us think, oh, now you could buy a house where you want to, but there's still some places they ain't gonna let you buy no house at. Oh, now I can go get the credit to buy a car. Yeah, but they still want to charge you a high interest rate on buying your car. Oh, now, this to that, but the reality is that no, the food they feed you is garbage. They still redline you. The police are still treating you a certain kind of way. Teachers are still mistreating, little young black children when you ain't watching them. And what else is going on? And so we have to start thinking for ourselves. So maybe this is not good for me. We have people who, this designer, with those boots that I don't even want to say the name. Those boots, he said he don't even have to advertise to black people because they're gonna buy it anyway. And it said it publicly on TV, on YouTube and everything. But these people still want to go there buying them damn boots. So there's certain things. So the problem is that we have gone from shackle slavery to mental slavery. And that's why I said that we must emancipate ourselves from mental slavery, because we have been mentally enslaved and we don't know it. We don't know it. And the fact that it's lasting longer and longer and longer. What's the name of that letter? That letter that oh gosh, I can't think of it. Maybe you can think of it. But I used to pass this letter out in my story. It was some white man who a long time ago who had this thing about how he would the Willie Lynch. Yes, the Willie Lynch. That is so much alive and well. When I was in my store, I used to make copies of it, at my own expense, and just passed out to customers. So they would think about this. And that is so alive and well that we don't have to actually say that this is that or this is that anymore, because we have been brainwashed. And the problems that it's been going from generation to generation to generation. The same way that the white man has taken his racism and is taking it from generation to generation to generation, we have taken this mindset that they have given us about who we are, what we can do, and we are passing it on for generation to generation to generation. That's a problem to me. And I'm not going to sit back and just act like that I don't see or I don't know this stuff. I ain't doing it. So,
here's a couple of questions for you.
I say, not on my watch.
Okay, here's a couple of questions for you. Okay, let's go back a little bit, and we're going to look at the fact that you are a single woman and you raised your children, and you was also in the corporate world. So that means that you was in a man's industry. All right. So what were some of the things, because you got to take tiny steps before you can take big steps for certain people. Depends on your level of development, depends on where you are, depends on what type of belief you have and who you are and where you're going. Do you have a direction? All right. So let's look at you for a minute. When you were in the corporate world and you realized that as a female in that era of time, even though the computers were becoming a little bit more available, they still weren't as mainstream as they are now. How did you handle being in the computers, working with computers, having that type of a degree, and then also at the airport? So if you were at the airport, were you at the front tickets?
No, I wasn't at the airport. I worked at the Ramada Inn at the airport.
Ramada, okay. So
I worked at the front desk.
Okay, the front desk. So you were in communications with a lot of different people.
A lot of people.
What was it? How did you respond to the way that they were treating you? Now, the reason why I'm saying this to you is because sometimes people will say, well, she looked at me a particular way, or they said a particular thing. So when you encounter, and the reason why I'm going there is because that is the piece that we hold on the shoulder, right? So the stick that's on the shoulder. So what is it that you did in order to overcome that kind of situation? Because you're in a public area and you're frontline, all right? What did you do?
Well, the problem with the corporate world really started when I graduated from high school, when I worked for this company, and you got to dress a certain way, you got to go to the company picnics, you got to sit and chit chat, folks be talking about people, and and you got to sit there and grin and smile, and when you can watch devious shit, and then you're not supposed to say nothing about it, or you watch somebody was promoted over top of somebody else, all the unfairness and stuff like that. So that was the time when I really felt like that this corporate world was not for me. Now, when I went to Denver, I did work at the front desk hotel, but that was the time when I went from saying that I'm leaving Delaware, I'm going to Denver now, and I'm going to be me no matter what. I'm going to be my authentic self. And so that's who I was. And my authentic self ain't a bad person. You know what I'm saying? I was just, I may have locks, much shorter locks. I may have locks or or different things like that then, but then I had to wear a uniform. So they never saw me like, African attire, something like that. But I was just myself. I was kind. People, I gave respect. And so I demanded respect back. But of course, still, I saw things that went on in different departments. And even, like I said, even after me working at the front desk as a front desk clerk, where else could I go? I could just be the front desk manager. I didn't see any future for myself there because I didn't, quote unquote, have, what they say, you got to have a degree for this, degree for that. But, sometimes experience is the best teacher, which we're learning now. And I think college is not really for everybody, that's my opinion. But, but I was able to just be myself, be pleasant, and I enjoyed it. So I like people, so I liked, conversating with people, learning people, get to know people. I have some people that I used to check in, like some of the pilots that I check in. Me and the family just became really good friends. I still have people in Denver that I still, stay in contact with, and I've been going for many, many years. So I was just being myself. And so, and if you carry yourself respectfully, then people are going to respect you too. So of course, there was incidences, that was a long time ago. I don't remember exactly what some of those things were, but it did get me to a point of knowing that, okay, I got to do something else now because I see there's not much more than I'm going to be able to do here. And I wasn't settling for continue to work at the front desk, be a front desk clerk for the rest of my life.
So when you're standing there, are you standing on your religious belief? Now, listen to the words. Are you standing on your religious belief? Are you standing on your spiritual belief? Are you standing on Nzinga's belief, which is a combination of everything? Like when you're standing there, what are you standing on?
Well, I'm standing on my own spirit, because when I left Delaware and went into and moved to Denver, that's when I really started studying and experiencing things and listening to other people that were, who were prominent at the time, and reading books, because a lot of books was available then. And so I just started developing myself spiritually. I'm sure I might have started off, because I didn't have a strong religious based background anyway. My parents used to send us to church, every now and then, and we used to go for certain holidays, but it wasn't like we wasn't raised like in the church. So I didn't have the heavy religious background, but I started developing myself spiritually. And so it was more me and my spirit, as a group, because it wasn't strong. Then I had to develop that over time, and I'm still, still learning and developing it. So that's what it was. I was just standing firm on what I believed, versus just going along with what they say. At that point, yes.
Within the next couple of minutes, because we have maybe about 3 minutes left before, and believe it or not, we've been on for a half an hour. Can you imagine that?
Oh, wow.
That went fast. That went extremely fast. Tell me, what is it that you see that's getting ready to happen with all the different things that we're dealing with? We're dealing with COVID, we're dealing with all kinds of new viruses, we're dealing with all kinds of challenges with the food, we're dealing with the GMOs and the non-GMOs that are GMOs. What are some of the things now? You happen to live in, I can tell this by the background, you live in a very tropical community. I mean, where you are is tropical. Where I am is warmer, even though I'm still in the States.
Mm-hmm.
All right, because my front door is open. That's how come I could hear that truck. Okay, so what is it? Your suggestions for now. What is your suggestions for right now? Something that somebody can take away from this conversation and say, okay, I'm going to implement this and I'm going to go to this. And the steps, do you have a kind of like a step type of program that you're beginning to implement?
Well, on my last video, I titled that one, how did we get here? And so I just wanted people to look back on how we got here, and to look and see, and just take it. This is something I take away. Look and see how we as people of African descent were brought here. We were enslaved. We were so-called set free with nothing. The 40 acres and the mule never happened. Okay. And so understand that the same families that enslaved us, so-called emancipated us, are still running our government right now. So maybe not the same people, because that's been 400 years, but the same families. And so, like I said, because our traditions, families pass on traditions. And so we must understand that these traditions are still carrying on. But these are the people who right now are our president, our mayors, our governors, our doctors or whatever, these people. So you have to realize that these people, even though they say that things have changed, that these are still the people who are governing us since they were brought here to enslave us. Some things ain't changing. Okay, so we have to understand that now. Oh wow, well, I can't go to them for a resource because now they smiling in my face, but for sure they still stabbing you behind your back. Look at the thing that happened with that brother. I just couldn't believe that those men just really had so much hate in their heart in 2012. I was just 2 years ago to just get in their truck and just chase this man down and kill him. Literally, they murdered him. So in this day and time, we have to really realize our reality. So that's the difference. Be for real about what your reality is, and your reality is your experience. How do people interact with you? What is going on in the world? You know that the foods that's going in our neighborhood is not good. We know that in our neighborhood they give us, they don't give us the computers and all the resources that we need for our schools. We know that, so I don't, we only have that much time. Well, we know these things, and so we have to understand and put the problem where the problem is, and then we know that we see this society, they will create a problem. Okay, like just go do the drugs. Okay, we know that wasn't our thing back then. They put drugs in our neighborhood, and now we have all these problems with our children, even our parents, and all up to elders with these problems in our neighborhood. But that's not our nature. We didn't create this. This thing was given to us, and then we acted it out. And then now they want to come as their savior. Okay, now they want to do something. They want to do something, but they ain't doing nothing because what did they do? The drugs that they use that we use in our neighborhood is not nowhere near as harmful as the high priced drugs that that other people use, but the crime is higher. I mean, so it's some simple things that you need to look at. Why is the crime for this drug that that most people of color use a worse dealt with harder punishment than this crime that the other people deal with? I mean, so there's so many things. Why are that when our schools okay, let me talk about this. Why is it, when Martin Luther King, study Martin Luther King and know that he did come about, turn a cheek, that kind of thing. But near the end, Martin Luther King was like saying, oh no, he know that he made some mistakes about because he was realized what his reality was. And so they don't share that part about Martin Luther King. All they do is talk about we have a dream, we we just supposed to be the turn the cheek people. But no, that brother was he realized after he had the power that he had, and he saw the reality of some of the things that was going on when he was like rubbing elbows, when he got a chance to rub elbows with those so-called higher rank people, that he's like, oh no, this shit ain't right. You know what I'm saying? And so we know these things, but we still want to act like, oh, okay, hunky dory, everything is okay. And we get complacent. We get complacent. We have got to stop complying because we don't have to comply. You do have a choice. You and you and you and you and you. I'll be like, over. You get it. You have a choice. You have a choice. You have a choice to make choices for yourself about what's best for you and your family. So
you know what I find interesting about what you're saying. All right. What I find interesting about what you're saying is that, is it a game? Is it a game? And the reason why I say that to you is because sometimes, all right, let's back that up a little bit. So in my thoughts and in my travels, I've listened to conversations, and there are those that believe that this is a game and you got to learn the rules. Okay. Now there's a gentleman that's on YouTube, which I found to be kind of interesting. His name is Wall Street Trapper. Have you heard of him?
I have not.
Okay, when you have an opportunity, check him out. Now, the reason why I'm bringing him into this conversation is because the brother has a history. But I remember something a long, long time ago when I was living in Sacramento. I met a brother at one of these high-end locations, and I looked at that guy. This was, I was very, very cocky. All right, but I looked at the gentleman and I said to myself, wow, he looks interesting. But I liked his swagger. There was something about his swagger that became very easy to engage in conversation with, and we began a conversation.
Okay.
His roots were from the streets, but the streets decided that they were going to protect him. All right, and they pushed him and he went to school and blah blah blah. All right, graduated from school. He was in Sacramento because he had a contract with his own business that he was implementing in Sacramento, California, and he was from the Midwest. When we sat down and had that conversation, I found him to be profoundly interesting and a darn good example. A darn good example because he came from the drugs. He came from the drug dealers. All right, but they told him that he was going to get out. And they were going to make sure that he came out because his mother was a single parent and she was working every day trying to take care of her son. And she needed the support. So there's the village helping you. All right. Now, this gentleman I'm telling you about, Wall Street Trapper. Now, his story is profound. And then he turns right back around and he's doing the street thing and he's very good at it. But not only is he good at that, but when he was incarcerated, he was, and this is paraphrasing, I think he was supposed to serve a 10-year sentence. He served 8 years and such. But he was put in jail at the age of 16. He was tried as an adult because it was attempted murder and blah, 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 Now, like I said, his story is interesting to me. It's interesting to me because of the different twists and turns that it took. But when he met this European, all right, in the prison, he said he met him in solitary confinement, and the guy walked over to him and he said to him, he says, I don't understand something about you guys. And so he went into self-defense. What are you talking about? Blah, 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 blah. And so he says, what I don't understand is, don't you know this is a game? And so Wall Street Trapper says, this is not a game, man. This is not you see all of us in here. This is not a game. He says, that's what I'm saying. He says, you guys are taking it seriously and it's a game. He says, case in point. He said, I'm in here because I embezzled $2.8 million, of which 800,000 is restitution, of which when I get out of here, I will have $2 million to live on. Okay. All right. So now I've heard this many times previously, way before I got into this whole end of my business, which is journalism. But when Trapper was saying that, I said to myself, interesting. So he said that he wanted to check the guy out. He said, so in that particular system, they wear bands on their arm as to what their crime is. So this guy had the same red band that Trapper had, but he had a white band that went with it. And the white band meant that he was federal. All right. And so that's when Trapper looked at him and says, you and I in here, and you are being treated like this, and I'm being treated like that. And he said to him, he says, teach me what you're talking about. And that young man did. He began to teach him and give him books that he needed to read. And so for the remainder of his time there, he was reading. Now, when he comes out, he's been able to also manifest. So it's just like what you were saying a minute ago. He implemented what he learned.
Yes.
And
Yes.
right now he is pretty well off with quite a direction. And the reason why I mention him is because he's bringing it back to the community and he's sharing with the community. It's a game, and here's how you can play the game. Because one thing that I would agree with, I come from an era where everything was hush hush. You didn't know what was getting ready to happen. Every secret was with the adults, but the children didn't hear anything. So consequently, when my brothers and I got to a certain point and we wanted to start investing and doing things like that, these are words that we heard from whatever our community affiliations were. But exactly the road and how to go down that road, and my family was real estate. But yet there still wasn't sharing the information. So I'm listening to you and I'm listening to what he said, and I'm saying that's the way. We have to share the information. We have to take it, implement whatever it is that you're going with, but also know that you're in control of this. Don't ever give up your power. You're in control of this. You just got to learn how to play the game.
Because we have the power. We have the power, sis.
Always.
But again, and that's why the things that I learn, I try to share with my family because it's my responsibility. We have my family is 5 girls and 1 boy, and so all of 6 of us have had females. So I have a lot of nieces, and so it's my responsibility to be that example for my nieces. But because of their parents and their mind thoughts, they kind of like ostracize me. Oh, mom, Auntie Nzinga, she got her own way of thinking. Auntie Nzinga, look, she always dressed this way. Auntie Nzinga, she don't eat that kind of stuff. Instead of looking at saying positive things about it and looking at my history, because I ain't been shabby. You know what I'm saying? I've taken care of my children. I never had to move back home, and I never had to borrow. Lord, my rent needs to be paid. No, I have been productive in my life. So I try to be that example. And so all I could do as far as when it comes to my family is be that example. Even though they don't want to, they acting like now they don't want to hear what I'm going to say. Hopefully the older they get, the more wiser that they're going to get. And they'll see that, oh, wow, what Auntie Nzinga was telling what's correct. But we are in a game system. Because see, I'm a little far-fetched, but I'm believing that this is a game. And this what we're living in right now here on this earth. This is somebody's ideal. Oh no, this is strange. On another planet, says that we're going to do this. We're going to give them this. We're going to do this, this, and that. And they watching over us sitting here being. Excuse me.
Wait a minute. Now you see, maybe I should have started here. Okay. Maybe this was the place because I wanted to do what you and I do. We do the way we share. So what I want to do this. I agree with your last statement.
Yes.
All right. Yes. I agree with your last statement. Now, here's part 2. What I'd like you to do is bring this into a closing. Okay. We're going to close this session. You're going to come back. Would you come back?
I will.
Absolutely. Okay. And then we're going to take it from that place. All right. But now here's the other thing that I'd like you to do. I'd like you to just tell the time of your shows, whichever place it's going to be, Facebook, YouTube, whatever it is. And it's been an honor and a pleasure.
Oh,
as usual.
Thank you so much. And likewise. Okay, so you can find me, my name of my channel is Flowin Growin on YouTube. Flowin Growin, FLOWIN GROWIN. I do have my own language because see, this ain't my language and I use it the way that I want. Okay, because I'm free. So every Tuesday we have a thing, talk about a Tuesday. So every Tuesday I will add a new video. Every Tuesday I will add a new video. But my channel is Flowin, FLOWIN GROWIN. And Natalie, thank you so much for inviting me on here. And it's people like you that inspire me to just keep Nzinga. Tell your truth. Somebody's listening.
That's right.
And I just have no choice but to live my truth. And whoever don't like it, too bad.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, don't worry about it.
Because other people's stuff you don't worry about. People's problem is not your problem.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'll close and saying, think it ain't illegal yet. Take hold of and implement new knowledge. That's what we're here. We're here to grow. We're here to grow. We ain't just here to just, live and, acquire things. And I'll say this too. The most important things in life are not things. So sister, thank you so much for having me on here. I really love and appreciate you. It's another word. I don't say appreciate. I appreciate love you.
I understand. I understand. I overstand.
Yes, give thanks.
All righty. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, Miss Nzinga. You have been a real beautiful treat. When I was in Delaware, in a place that was totally so different from me, coming from New York and then also traveling and living in other states. And then ending up in Delaware, it was kind of also like a land, a new world. You know, I kept looking at things going, what the heck is going on here? But
I left.
yeah. But one of the things that I found consoling to the spirit was to go down the street and hang out at your shop for a while. And I thank you for having it there. All right. So it's been an honor and a pleasure. And without any further ado, I thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Up next, I have a song that I'm going to be playing, and I will tell everybody about it in a few minutes. And we also have one more other guest. And Nzinga, much love.
Thank you. Peace and love, sister. Thank you.
But in the meantime, thank you so much for joining us this evening. My name is Natalie J, and I hope that you'll return again. And if you like what we're doing over here, you want to participate, you know what to do. Send me an email at inspire.2uhs@gmail.com. You can visit my website, which is littledovepublishinghouse.com, and that's a dove, as in the bird. Okay? And then the other thing is this. I would like for you to remember to create the reality that you truly do desire and not one that you don't. So watch what you focus on, and especially during this day and time. Look to the high side and the bright side of life and go from there, okay? And as I said before, all the artists will be listed below. And I hope that you visit their websites and peruse some of their other music. And we have only just begun. Welcome to 2022. Ciao now.